crafty friends, welcome to Paper Play Tuesday. Today we're going to make an album similar to this, another album, but this one's a little easier. So all you need are a bunch of 12 by 12 papers. I'm going to show you the ones I'm using. If this is something you want to make, then join me for today's Paper Play Tuesday.
In a fun junk journal dream, DJ's crafting grungy scenes. Hither and Yon, where friends all meet. Paper glue and vintage treats.
All right, crafty friends. So here's the beauty we're going to make today. This is probably going to be the last album we make for a little while on Paper Play Tuesday. And so I wanted to get this one out because I've been saving this for a while. It uses up your 12 by 12s, and we all have a ton of them. And so I wanted to show you a way that you could turn these into really pretty albums and use them for gift giving or keeping. This one I used Enchanted Botanica from Recollection. So this is a Michael's pad. This is the same one I used when I did my collab with Bex over at Black Whisper Crafts, and we traded up. So that's what this one is made out of. I'm just going to show you some of why I chose this pad. I love these Recollection pads that have like the individual pieces in them, like these strips. And if I can find one, probably won't have one again in here because I think I used them all. But they have those big cards in them that you can cut out. Anyway, this one doesn't have it. I'll show you in the one we're using. So this one had like a strip of 4 cards, and they were like this, and there were 4 on a page. So I used this front one and the back one to do the cover. And that's why I like these, is because they're really good to accent the cover. And they have a mix of pages like this with regular background pages. And then they also have some of these metallics mixed in. So these are the packs I kind of look for to do albums like this. And if you don't have this, I mean, it's absolutely fine. You can find other accents to put on the cover. I just like the ones that come with them, and I have a bunch, so those are the ones that I use. Okay, let's get inside this baby. So this is just an added accent that doesn't have to go to your album. You'll see as we make it. It comes off to hold this in place. And then there's an album behind here. So this is more like a giant card that you can give the album in, and it also stores the album. So here I thought it would be fun to write a little note. This was part of that paper pad. So I did that. And then when we look at this album, it just expands out. It's kind of like a map fold type project. And then it all goes conveniently into this little 6x6 size. And then when you open it, you have room to put photos in here. And you can do one big square photo. You can punch out photos with square punches and do a collage of photos. You can do big circle photos on the background. There's a lot of options here. You can also leave these sections that we're going to do with some clean paper and write little notes. You can cut your photos into the triangular space. So there's a lot of options with this one, and it folds up so compact that it's really just kind of a fun, surprising little make. And then if we look at the back, you can make room for photos on the back. I did not. But you could really expand this out into these sections as well. Okay, so that's what we're making. And I'm just going to show you another one that I did as well. I'll put this one to the side. Oh, here's another I made with another paper pack. I didn't put a cover on this one yet, but you can see that this one also expands out. And on this one, I kind of did 2 different colored papers here. So you have a lot of different ways that you can make these. And depending on what your paper pad is, you know, yours will look completely different than mine will, right? Now, this idea came from scrapbooking. It's been around forever. It's definitely not a new idea. This is the pad I'm going to be using. It is Recollections again. And if we look in here, these are the pieces I was talking about. Now, sometimes you get these big squares. Sometimes you get some tags. Sometimes you get some oddly shaped ones, like different size rectangles in that. And so any of those would work. You can kind of put them on the cover in different ways. But that's what I am kind of looking for. So I've already picked out the pages I'm going to use, and I'm going to go over them with you so you can grab your 12 by 12 pad. The first we need is for the background. So we need 3 pieces. You can do 3 of the same color if you want. I like to mix it up and do 2 in one and 1 in the center. That's a kind of a different color. And this is how it'll look on the back. And then on the front, mine don't have a side 2. So that's when I use the interior pages to kind of make my inside. So what do I got here? These are the pieces I'm choosing for the cover. You're going to need 3 for the base. You're going to need 2 for the cover. Plus, if your paper is a different color on the other side, you may want to cut another piece to cover up that white, or you could just use another piece of cardstock from your stash. Some kind of embellishment for your cover. And then for the inside, you're going to need 1 piece that is, I'll show you the part that this is going to be for, so it makes sense. So when we open this, it's going to be these 4 here in the center. Now you can do them different. I'm just going to show you the way that I do them, but you can do like this in one color and this in another and so on and so forth. It's really up to you. And if you don't have a paper pad, you can definitely just use some cardstock for this. The big pieces on the back are 12 by 12. So can you glue some 6 by 6s together to get there? Yeah, you can. You can tape them together or whatever. But I just find it goes a lot faster with the 12 by 12s. But anyway, so these are the 4. So that's what this piece is going to be. And then for these, I'm just going to go with this basic background. Okay, and I think when you do something like that, you have the opportunity to add embellishments or write notes or anything along those lines. So I decided to do something a little less busy this time around. All right, so that's everything we're using. And the rest is pretty simple. I'm going to show you the folds, and I'm going to show you how we put it all together. It's really easy once you get the hang of it. So we'll put these pieces off to the side. I only made 3 base pieces to begin with. And each of these you're going to fold in half. So, and you want your folds to be very even. It's very important to get your folds even when you're doing this because everything has to be glued together and aligned. So when you fold these, just make sure that your ends are matching up. See, I have like even just this hairline can be a problem. So I'm just going to pull that back up, hold it down with my hand, and come back in here and make sure that my crease aligns with that. See? Okay, and you want your creases pretty tight, so go over it. We're going to open it up, and then we're going to fold it the opposite way. And I like to kind of hold it up and marry everything this way so that I know it's lined up. If you want to score it first on that 6-inch, go ahead and do that. You know, whatever makes it easier for you. And then we have one final fold, which is going to be one diagonal. We're not going to do both sides. We're just going to do the one. So again, I want to line that all up. And I don't do a tight crease until I make sure I have it all aligned. Just check your folds. All right, I'm going to fold up these other 2 the exact same way. So one time this way in half, one time this way in half, and then once diagonally. Okay, I have all three pieces here. I'm just going to move these others out of my way. Okay, so I have all three pieces here now. And like I said, I want to have these so that I see mostly these pages. So when I'm looking at the back, they're going to go like this. You can certainly glue it the other way. So if you want this center one to be a background accent, then you can do something like that. Okay. But in order to get these to lay out the way that they need to, take the two accent pieces and you want to fold them the opposite way. So we folded the diagonal this way, and now we want to fold it the opposite way and just get a good fold there. You don't want to overfold because you risk tearing your paper and weakening that crease, but we want to just fold it the other way just so we can get it into our natural fold. All right. And the way this works is if you hold these two pieces that you folded on the diagonal, we're looking at the white side, so the wrong side of the paper, and you just want to push those two diagonals in and then fold it down on itself, okay? And that gives us that 6-inch fold, that little booklet, that little map fold, whatever you want to call it. And I had one of these in my stash for the longest time that I made following some magazine or I don't remember what. And I just wanted to show you guys how to make it because it's been around forever. And it's really simple. Okay, so here we have our second one. Again, we folded it the opposite way. We're just going to hold these up and fold it down on itself. And again, I want those creases really tight. So that's those. And then this one is going to go the opposite way. So this one, we actually want to fold it inside to the wrong side. And then this one folds this way. It'll all make sense when we get it together, but if you get your creases nice and tight in these directions, it helps it all fold up nice once we glue it together. Okay, and now we just glue them together. So what I like to do is we have all the white sides that will be up. And remember, the way we decided to do this is this sheet is going to go under this one. That's the way I'm doing it anyway. So decide where it's going to go. Your diagonals are always this way, and we're going to be gluing together the full pieces that have no folds on them down the center. All right, so this is my accent piece. It's going to be under, and then this one going to glue over. The one rule here is you don't want to glue over these creases that you can see here. You don't want to glue over them. So you kind of want this page to just settle into that square there, okay? Now I am going to put my glue so that it does not touch the creases. And you can definitely use double-sided tape if you're good at that to do this. I am not. So, all right, and so this piece is just going to settle in there. Sometimes it helps to kind of just bring it up. And then what I like to do is kind of fold this down and just make sure everything is even. Like here, I feel something not quite right. So let me fold this up. And we can check. Sometimes if you have it as the square, you can see that it's not over the edges or anything. And then here we just want to make sure nothing's catching on that. Okay, so that's our first one. And then we're going to take our second piece here. Again, there's no fold in this one, and I'm going to put it under in my case and just wedge that paper into this square. Once you have all of your pieces, you pretty much can put these together rather quickly. All of the measurements will be down in the description box. You can also check the transcript. Okay, so just making sure it's all even. And it is, and nothing is catching. So that's good. All right, and now if we were to fold this up, we would pull these two in and these two in, and then these two go behind. So they kind of fold in back here the opposite way. Okay, and there is our little booklet. And from here, it's really just putting our other papers down. But this is a good time to kind of go over your folds and make sure everything is lining up and that everything is in a square, which is what we want. And the more you kind of get these creases tight, the flatter this will lay. Okay, so the pieces that we're going to cut. If we look at this example, these squares are all 5 7/8. Okay, square. So 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. These are just a hair smaller at 5 3/4. So you have 5 3/4 inch squares. And so we need 4 at 5 7/8, and we need 6 at 5 3/4. Okay, and then we're going to take our 5 3/4 and just score them down the middle. I'm just going to go through it quick with you. We'll put this off to the side while we do this. Get out my scoring board. This is my Hobby Lobby trimmer, which I love. And this is the paper I decided I was going to use as the accent. So those 4 squares. So these each have to be 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. And I need 4 of them. So I'm just going to, 5 7/8 is 2 ticks back, or 2/16 back from the 6. I'm going to cut 2 of them. That'll leave me with like a little strip I can use as a piece of decor somewhere. And then you want to cut these again at 5 7/8 and 5 7/8. Okay, and then we'll do our second one here. And there are our 4 pieces at 5 7/8. And now we're going to cut 6 pieces from our other accent pieces at 5 3/4. So just a bit shorter. All right, so I'm going to cut 6 of these. All right, and then I have 6 at 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Now, these are the ones that are going to go on those splits. So we have to cut them in half. And so what I like to do is just line up my corner here anywhere on my trimmer, and then line up the bottom corner and then just trim them that way. Okay, I'm going to trim the rest, and then we'll come back and we'll glue everything down. All right, so all of these are cut in half, and then since I have my trimmer out, I'm just going to cut the pieces that I need for the cover, which are going to be 2 pieces at 7 by 7. Now you can't get 2 7s from a 12 by 12, so I need 2 pieces of 12 by 12. I'm going to cut them both at the same time on the 7-inch mark. And we'll have 2 7-inch squares. And then we're taking one of these squares and we're going to trim off a 1/2 inch away from the center. So what I do is I take my triangle, I find the 1/2 inch on my trimmer, which is right here, this line here, and I just put one of my corners on that line. I'll hold it and find the 1/2 inch down further on my trimmer here. Now I know that it hasn't shifted. You can kind of take a second and align it. And then as I'm holding it here, I'll just trim that off. So that gives me kind of not an exact corner, and it tucks in there a little nicer when you're done. So that's why I do that. Now, if you want to do a corner trim piece, you can certainly do that now as well. The one that I have here measures, I think it's 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. I made a square 3.5 by 3.5. So we'll do that. Use this one. You can also do 3.5 by 7 and just fold it in half. It's already 3.5 by 7. So we can just fold it in half and then we're going to cut it on the diagonal. Okay, you can glue it first if you want to. Basically, you want to make a book corner. And it doesn't matter which way you trim it because you can always you're just going to end up gluing one side. So it doesn't really matter here. Just put it on the trimmer wherever. Okay, and then whether you have this or this, either way, you can glue 2 sides or one. I just take the one, I glue down this side here. And then I put a hair of glue in this side because you're going to see the way it sits on the page. Because we glued this edge here, we also want to kind of put a little dab of glue there. All right, I'm going to let that dry off to the side. That's all the cuts and scores we need except for our cover here. And I'm going to use Love Starts at Home, and we'll make this like a home kind of family album. I love that. And so if you never know what to do with these, they make great journal covers and album covers. All right. So now that goes with the other one. Let me put the trimmer away. We'll get our album back out. And now it just becomes a fitting game. And now I just want to show you, because you may be asking, well, why didn't we just cut these also at 3 5/8? Because of this cutting in half part, it just sits in here a little nicer if you cut them at the 5 3/4, which is why we do it that way. And just everything lays out a little better. So that's why. It just works out that way. All right, so let's get these guys down first. We're going to center them. There's going to be just a slight border around them because these squares that we created are all 6 by 6. And so we want to fit our page. We're going to kind of dry fit it and see where we want it to go and make sure everything's going to line up, and then just put it down. If you have directional paper, you have to consider that as you're cutting and piecing these pieces together. So take a good look at your paper pad and just make sure everything is where you want it to sit. Most of these, if you're using non-directional paper, and a lot of these pads just have non-directional paper, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. This is, to me, the hardest part. It's just getting these all to lay down even with a nice even border. I don't know, maybe that's easy for you, but for some reason that's a challenge. All right, so I'm going to lay down the rest of these, and when you come back, you'll see how they look. Okay, so these 4 are down. You may find, depending on how you folded this, and since we're not robots or machines, you may have just a little fold off here or there. So these might not center perfectly perfect, and that's okay, because that's what really gives it its handmade appeal and look and feel. And that's why we love to hand make gifts. So don't let that throw you off. You have to let go. All right, and now these pieces are just going to find their way into these corners here, like so. And you can just fit them the way that they look best to you. Again, if you have different colored papers, you can, kind of do one color here and one color here, and then do opposites, or however you want to lay them out. I'll let you decide that. I'm going to go ahead and lay down all of these corners, and then I will come back and we'll show you what the final outcome is. Okay, we are all in place, and that is how mine lays out. Now we can fold these up and just do kind of a final check. Make sure there isn't anything catching or anything like that. So that is your album. And then the last part is just to make our cover here. And I can't stress enough that once you glue this or tape it, you want it, well, if you glue it, you want it to be super dry before you try inserting your journal into it. And so I let mine dry for a couple of hours. You don't have to wait that long, but I do want you to make sure that it's very dry. And something else I wanted to mention is that you can kind of come in here and ink these if that's something that you like to do, so that you don't see that white. On the back here, I've also done these where I've cut another square and kind of scored it down the middle and placed it here in the center to add a little accent. So think like this, except you score it down the center here, just so it folds properly. And then you can build on that if you'd like to add some additional accents to your album. And then your photos go on these pads. You could also use this as a journal. You could have it go this way, so your photos are upright this way. And then if you attach a little string or something, you could literally hang this on a wall. So I'm thinking like a baby shower, or I don't know, Mother's Day or something. You could have something like this, and then it could be hung on the wall with pictures of the kids or something. Just some things that you can do, and then it tucks away for safekeeping. All right, so let's work on our, it's just fun to fold too. We'll work on this. It's super easy, right? We're just going to, watch my glue clog, as per usual. We're just going to glue really well here and here. And you have about a ½ inch of leeway here, but I would try to make this as close to the edge as possible. And now you can do similar to what I did with this one. This was white, and I just put a piece of black cardstock. So you could do something like that if you wanted to, and then put another one of those pieces over it. Or you can leave it like it is and take one of them and put it over it. So we could take maybe this one and put it there. Make sure it's upright. Just to add a little extra bit of happy. The more happy, the better. You could also make it a pocket and tuck a note in there. That would be fun. Okay, and so when this is dry, then our album will tuck inside, but we have to put our little cover piece on. So what we're going to do is glue it just in this area. So we're going to make sure no glue gets here. Kind of put a representative piece so you can see it has an edge there. So when I glue this, I only want to glue this half. Okay, and I'll go a little shy just to be safe. I want to make sure that no glue gets over into that other section, otherwise we can't put our album in it. And we'll just center that on there. And I like to kind of take a ruler or something and put it in there. Just make sure that I have not stuck that to the paper. Good. All right, so that's going to dry. We have our piece here. No, here it is. And this will go over our edge. And if there's some piece of your paper pack, and this is why I say I glued that little piece, because here on the side that we folded over, it's glued right here. So if we didn't, this piece would kind of kick in, and I think this just kind of keeps it even. It's a little off the edge, but I like it like that. I don't know that there's, let's see if there's anything in here. Maybe we can get one of those strips. Where are they? These. Let's see if one of these will work. If you have something you can fussy cut like I did on this one, this was one of the papers, you can do that. You might also just have an accent in your stash. But I'm thinking that maybe I could use one of these. I don't really like any of them for this. Oh, maybe that one. All right. Let's see. Actually, maybe I'll just get this gold strip. It's the easiest. I'll just put a strip of gold there. Who doesn't like a strip of gold? Can put it like that, or you can, put it up more, whatever suits your fancy. And then we'll just trim it off. And this is allowing me to let that cover dry too, so that's good. Oop, hold on. Just want it to be on the edge. Okay. There we go. And I will trim that. And then we have a nice little accent there. I think that works. All right, and we're done. That's it. Here's another easy one. So here's your album. And you can go to town decorating these, obviously. This will just slide in here, which is why you want to make sure these are really dry. I'm just going to clip mine so that as I demonstrate, it doesn't come undone. It will scurry right in there. It'll fit nice and snug. There's plenty of room to fit behind that. And then this piece just kind of keeps that closed. I think it's a nice little accent, but you don't have to add it if you don't want to. And that is that. So that is our make today, guys. Happy Paper Play Tuesday. We'll move into some other stuff. I want to start a glue book, so that might be next week. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and if you're new here, maybe consider subscribing because we're going to do a lot more in the realm of Paper Play Tuesday, Mass Make Monday, and we also have the junk journaling stuff. Don't forget, I'm live every Friday at noon Eastern here on the channel, so if you want to join me for some live crafty chat, you can join me then. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day or night. Bye!